Our company depends heavily on agriculture and the equine industry, and I think it's very uncertain for farmers how much financial support they're going to get once we leave the EU. So I'm uncertain about that. And also for the equine business, people will potentially have less available cash and so are less likely to spend it on a commodity such as a horse. So it's uncertain, not overly optimistic at the moment, but watch this space. Our business, we focus quite a lot on the agriculture side, and I think there's some opportunities for some young farmers and things to get more education and research within the global market as opposed to just the European sector. So I think that's quite exciting. The main thing I think will be a challenge will be making it attractive for pharmaceutical companies and authorisation holders to want to get authorisations for new medicines in the UK. So that's quite a big concern because there's already a lack of medicines coming to the UK market. I would like to see post-Brexit Britain remain part of the single market. I think that's unlikely, but it would be helpful to the animal health industry if we still had that.
Well, I think the biggest challenge for the animal health sector before and following Brexit is maintaining its partnerships. And these are partnerships with academia, with fellow companies, with startup companies and multinationals. And I think particularly in the UK there's a really fervent research scene amongst academia, and it would be such a waste if that was spoilt, or if Brexit caused any friction in this space. More and more the animal health industry, from my point of view, needs to reach out to partners. Lots of companies are realising that they can't innovate on their own, particularly with adjacent areas such as animal nutrition, digital technology, monoclonal antibodies, diagnostics. And at a time when the industry is reaching out to new partners, this needs to be maintained and, if anything, incentivised. And it would be a shame if something like Brexit prevented partnerships and prevented companies reaching out to new partners.
Well, I think the answer to that has to be the Prime Minister's Mansion House speech, when she specifically mentioned medicines, and she mentioned having a close relationship with the EU regulatory network, which is exactly what we want. In fact, she talked about having associate membership of the European Medicines Agency, so that was very, very positive. So that was a good day for us. Probably the next day. Barnier said that was impossible. He talked about picking little red round fruits and really put cold water on the whole idea. So that's unfortunate. But they write the rules, they hold all the cards, so they're certainly going to follow the rules. So, we have to find another way of having that close alignment. Absolutely. It's what we want. We want that close alignment. I think the question is whether we will get it. And as Barnier has said, it's not really within the possibilities to have that close associate membership. So I think all we can expect is having a good some sort of good mutual recognition agreement, so that the UK and the EU can still exchange. Maybe the UK can follow in a sort of mutual recognition or mutual reliance way. I don't think the UK will get associate membership of the European Medicines Agency's work.
One of the big opportunities, I think, in terms of animal health in the broadest sense is probably around things like pet travel scheme and the ability for us to bring back in legislation which will protect the status of our industry, of our particular companion animals here. So looking at things like tick treatment and treatment for echinococcus, for example, which are so far kind of removed from the pet travel scheme. So that's kind of one area of opportunity. In terms of the broader medicines industry, I mean, I think again it's an opportunity for us to look at how we might speed things up and do regulation slightly differently. Now again, that's a medium to longer term affair. Veterinary Medicines Director at this stage have given us an indication that they expect the regulatory processes to remain fairly well aligned to what we've had previously or what we have currently. But there is an opportunity for us to possibly speed up innovation in some novel areas. So things like phage technologies, for example, or drug delivery systems. That's the kind of area that we can look at. Do we need to put in a complete new dossier if we're using a new delivery system, or do we need to put in a complete new dossier if we're adding or removing a component from a multivalent vaccine? That's where I think that there's possibly opportunities to tweak things in a robust but sensible fashion. I think overall it's just that, again, it's that sort of piece around disruption. I think it's the fact that so many medicines in recent years have gone through the UK route, that if new claims or if any new regulatory procedures need to actually be carried out in a member state, then that will need to, companies will need to have a look at that. And I think beyond that, certainly for the UK and the Republic of Ireland, there is that whole piece around which medicines will remain viable in a separate market under English language labelling and things like that.
Quite optimistic because the business is going to go on regardless. What you'll find is that the resourcefulness in animal health will come to the surface, and we'll find a way around it. There will be challenges. We just don't know what they are right now, but we'll overcome them. I don't think it's changed. We're still planning for the worst, hoping for the best, but we haven't got any steer whatsoever. And what our governments and Europe needs to realise is, as we get nearer to the deadline, all the timelines are getting telescoped, and there are things that it will be harder and harder to achieve by the day zero in 2019. We'll have some surety on what's going to happen. Companies will be able to then plan and put into place those plans so that the supply of medicines can be maintained, and also the impact on other countries can be minimised or managed for that matter. What will be important is some latitude from the UK authorities and also Europe in order to make sure those supplies can continue, and that might mean still having centralised licence numbers on products coming into the UK for a year or two.